for an attack on Iran for some time. There is still a lot to consider, so let's talk about with John Dale Grover of the National Interest and senior contributor to Young Voices, up late with me on the Final Five. I like having you on the show because you can help us break these things down. And I'm going to ask you one question off the bat that I think a lot of people are seeing what's going on with Iran, and they're wondering, are we going to war?
Well, hopefully not.
That's not the answer I think people want to hear.
Well, I'm trying to be as honest as possible. And unfortunately, given our experience with Iraq, I think we need to be pretty cautious about this. It looks like the Republicans, you saw Mitch McConnell talking about a limited retaliation, a proportionate response. The question is, what does that look like? And if Iran interprets it as something bigger? Because remember, the Pentagon was discussing sending over 125,000 troops to the region. We've sent B-52 bombers. We sent an aircraft carrier battle group. From Iran's perspective, this looks like the build-up to the war in Iraq all over again. And I think we need to be really cautious about that. And Democrats are giving a lot of pushback to this, and I think other people, not just Democrats, are joining that, and I think that's a good thing. What I'm hoping is that President Trump is going to be clear-cut and give some comments to say, hey, we don't want war, we don't want regime change, let's try to talk about this. You saw him give a little wiggle room earlier with his tweets.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens here, but we're hoping it works out.
I'm glad you mentioned the president's tweets because, we tend to go back to what private citizen Trump said a lot, and during the Obama administration, he had accused President Obama of trying to gin up war, conflict with Iran to boost his numbers when it came to re-election. But that said, you can't deny the fact that he has surrounded himself with some people, including John Bolton, who was a key figure in the build-up to Iraq. And he has written op-eds in the past saying we should basically bomb the hell out of Iran. So how do you temper that? Who has the president's ear when it comes to this sort of thing?
So that's the problem, is that definitely John Bolton has a lot of influence, and he was involved with Iraq. He's also the same person who wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal saying making the legal case for a preemptive strike on North Korea. And you think about it, North Korea has nuclear weapons. It doesn't make any sense to talk about an attack on a nuclear-armed country. And sure, Iran doesn't have those, but the whole point is to prevent them from getting them and keep, threatening Iran. If we keep saying, oh, we're going to attack them, they're a huge threat, it's certainly a way to incentivize them to end up getting the very thing we don't want them to get.
Yeah. President Trump took some flack, I think even on the campaign trail, when he had said when it came to people like Kim Jong-un, he would offer to meet with them without preconditions. And he was, he was ridiculed. I know Hillary Clinton had said some things about that, but the reality is, he did meet with North Korea. Granted, that's a totally different story compared to Iran. Would that behoove the Trump administration to set up some sort of diplomatic dialogue with Iran, or are they treating them as an enemy state right now?
They should set up another dialogue. I think they should. I think Trump immediately should go and contact the Iranian ambassador at the UN, or we should set up some kind of a back channel and meet without preconditions just to get a dialogue going. That in and of itself, even if it doesn't go anywhere right away, is a great de-escalation. It's a great way to ensure no one ups the ante. But the problem is all the mixed messaging. Trump needs to be very clear. He needs to rein in his advisors. He needs to make sure we're not giving multiple signals here. And we need to be clear-cut what is actually in our interest, and it's not war.
Before I let you go, I think back to Iraq and the build-up in 2002 and 2003, and a lot of people said the media wasn't critical enough when it came to some of the things the Bush administration had said to justify military action in Iraq. How has the media, in your estimation, handled the build-up to whatever we see in Iran right now?
Not as well as it could. There's been some skepticism, which is good, but the problem is we're relying too much on government sources, high-placed people in the administration, and saying, this is their word, just taking it at face value. You need to talk to the Democrats. One of our reporters at the National Interest, Hunter, he talked to some of the people on the Foreign Affairs Committee, and they were giving pushback. So again, talk to both parties, but talk to lower-ranking people too, right? Who's in the bureaucracy, who's on the ground, people in Iran itself, and be wary of the sources, right? Because otherwise you're just going to be repeating the same thing, and you're just going to be trying to get, the fastest thing for the news, but you're not paying attention to accuracy, and we need to be very, very skeptical. Otherwise we're going to just sleepwalk into another
Well, clearly,
another war.
I think a lot of people want to make sure our country is safe, but you have to handle